If you didn't see part 1 of this video where I talked about the 1960s, I've been going through each European Car of the Year winner and looking to see if they were a good choice or not. At the end of this whole series, I'm going to take a look back and see just how good the panel was at picking winners. If you want to start with the first video, there's a link above or in the description. We're now on to day 2 when we look at the 1970s. The winner for 1970 was another Fiat, the 128. Italy's top car company was producing highly competent cars around this time, and the 128 was no different. It doesn't get the same love as cars like the 127 that became the blueprint for the Super Mini hatchback, but it was the sort of car that people were actually buying in the early 1970s, like the 1969 winner, the Peugeot 504. Over 3 million of these cars were produced. In 1971, the committee turned back to cars with a lot of innovation with the Citroën GS. The car that had launched just before, the SM, was Citroën running riot, putting every gadget on the car that made it cost way too much. The GS was Citroën producing innovation to a cost point, and it's a car that delivered an economical ride with a low drag factor and a smooth ride with its hydropneumatic suspension. Citroën's financial implosion in the mid-70s meant it was produced for far too long, but customers didn't mind as over 2.5 million cars were made over 16 years. The Fiat 127, the blueprint for the Super Mini, got its day in the sun as the Car of the Year winner in 1972. History has proven the judges right on this one, as it wasn't just popular when it was produced, but went on to be seen as a car that showed the way for the future. By 1973, NSU had been integrated into the Volkswagen Audi empire, and Audi's medium-sized saloon, the 80, claimed the top spot that year, just beating out the iconic Renault 5. The Audi 80 kept getting one successful update after another, eventually being renamed the A4, but the original car was very successful and sold over 1 million cars in 6 years and set Audi up for success in the 1980s. One of the criteria the judges had was value for money, so they must have thought that the 1974 winner, the 1974 Mercedes-Benz W116, must have been pretty good, as it wasn't the cheapest car to ever win. In development for 6 years, it launched in 1972, but the model that won was the 1974 450 SE. A car with a V8 engine was an interesting choice just after the oil crisis, but you can't deny that this was a solid car that gained Mercedes-Benz a lot of happy, loyal customers. For 1975, the committee awarded Citroën's innovation again, this time for the CX. It was the last gasp from the company though before it went bankrupt. But it can't be denied that the car was innovative, and despite being an expensive car, it managed to sell quite respectfully. I knew the 1976 winner as the Chrysler Alpine in the UK, but in France it was a Simca. Like the Concorde, it was an Anglo-French collaboration styled in the UK and engineered in France. It sold well initially, maybe due to the award, but it was always an uphill battle to get this car sold in this category against established players like Ford, Vauxhall Opel, Renault and Volkswagen. It didn't help that Chrysler sold their European business to PSA in 1979, which left the car renamed as a Talbot. The 1977 winner should have been a surefire hit. The journalists loved the Rover SD1, but they dismissed the production problems as teething issues. Surely Rover would get those massive panel gaps that let in water fixed by the time production ramped up. They didn't count on the basket case that British Leyland had become in the late 1970s, and the amazing SD1 turned from a must-have to something to avoid very quickly. The 1978 winner was something of a departure. It was a sports car. The Porsche 928 was the German company's vision of the future. Customers didn't want the 911, they wanted a 2+2 Grand Tourer, not an out-and-out sports car. Porsche and the Car of the Year judges were wrong. The 928 might be a good-looking car with its rounded bottom that was made famous from the video game Chase HQ. The public weren't a fan of the 928 though, and sales were sluggish. Porsche went back to improving the 911, and the rest is history. There are a lot of cars you could choose from for the 1979 Car of the Year winner. Maybe the Fiat Ritmo, known as the Strada in the UK. How about the innovative Mazda RX-7, a car that showed the Wankel engine could actually be practical, or maybe even the Saab 900. But in the year Chrysler sold their European operation to PSA, the judges chose the Horizon. It's not a bad car and something Chrysler would try to sell to American customers as the Dodge Omni or Plymouth Horizon, but it wasn't that much better than the existing Volkswagen Golf, and once the Ford Escort arrived in 1980, the carmaker, which was struggling to sell to fleet customers anyway, was always going to have problems. The Horizon was a good car, but it wasn't anything special and quickly faded from memory. Okay, that's the 1970s. If I've already released the video for the 1980s, you'll find it on the right. If not, then I'll see you tomorrow.